Welcome into another episode of the Back in Time podcast. Back in your life on YouTube for the first time in quite a while. Might be the first time this year, actually. JD, how the heck you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing pretty fantastic. I'm looking homeless as ever.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thank you. I love when you previously said I look like a dishwasher at a Mexican restaurant. That was kind of like the best compliment that you've ever given me.
And now you actually are, because they're paying out the wazoo. So good for you.
Well, thank you.
Hard to pass up. I mean, 19 bucks an hour to wash a couple dishes. Things
Well,
could
you
be
do it at
worse.
home for free.
Right, that's true. Well, yeah, man, I'm excited to jump into today's podcast. But before we do, just want to send a quick shout out to all of our listeners. Thank you guys for hitting the download button. If you're new to the show, make sure you subscribe to the channel here. Every time we go live, you'll get notified. If you're listening on the podcast platforms, just hit that subscribe button. If you like what you hear, come back for some more because we've got some plans coming up for March and hopefully some exciting things down the pipeline. So, JD, I want to start off real quick. Man, movie of the month here: Predator, 1987. We've got Arnold. We've got Rocky Balboa's foe from all the Rocky movies. Little
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Carl
Are you
Weathers.
skipping, blanking on his name?
Oh, you talking about the director of Iron Man 3? No, of course not. Yeah, I was kind of forgetting his name for a second. I wanted to, I wanted to call him Carlton Banks, but I knew that wasn't the right name. I have been watching that remake of Fresh Prince on I
And
think it's HBO Max. Yeah, not for me.
okay,
I got
I was
through
on the
I
fence.
got through
I
like
kind
an
of
episode and a half, and I'm like,
I wanted to give it a watch, but based on your recommendation, I
yeah,
shan't.
yeah. They should have just redid the show with Will's kids and Carlton's kids and brought back the original cast. They're all still
It's
acting. What I mean, are you guys too busy to act, or is that still what you do for a living? Oh, it's still what we do. Oh, cool. Let's make a show.
it's funny that you think Carlton would have kids.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like he'd be the one in the pool house now. That'd be kind of funny. That'd be hilarious if Will was the one that was really successful and Carlton's the one that's like, I need a place to live, man.
I like it.
Yeah. Already a better show. Jeez. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously we're here to talk about, geez, I think on our previous retro episode, I posted 1987 movies. This I might have been on everybody's list, if not 2 out of 3 for sure. And it's got so many quotes here. But man, JD, what's your first memories of watching Predator as a kid?
I think it was a video store rental. It was a Blockbuster rental. Obviously, 1987, I was 2 years old. So,
Yeah.
not going to theaters for that.
No, can't see that one.
But, yeah, well, I was a little whiny brat.
What do you remember? Like, was this on your radar because at that point Terminator had come out, and you're like, oh my gosh, what else has this dude done? Oh, this one looks kind of cool. Or do you think it was maybe like the VHS cover that caught your eye?
Yeah, definitely, there was no Terminator lifeblood sucked up into me that I was like, I need to see this because of him.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it was definitely, it had to have been a at the grandparents' house, picked it up off the rack. Cover was fantastic.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, it's the one he's just kind of like staring off to the camera, but he's loaded, got a gun in his hands, but then it's got like the predator vision in the background.
Yep.
I think that yeah, that seems familiar. I think they kind of duplicated that with the DVD art as well. But
I hope so.
do you own this movie?
I do not.
Okay, interesting. I do. I think I have the Blu-ray actually. I upgraded.
Good man.
So yeah, good for me. So now for me, this was a movie that my dad introduced to me. We had this in our collection, VHS movie, and I think probably when I was like 5 or 6, he was like, "You really like T2, huh? Well, how about this one?" And I got introduced to some words that maybe I hadn't heard before. Starts with an F, ends with a T, and I believe it started with a slap jaw. And there's some strong language in this movie, man. And nobody's got no time to bleed.
It's a different world back then.
Yeah.
1987 was a different world.
Yeah. I actually watched the Honest trailer before we got on. And that's one of the lines where, like, this movie could be in theaters today because it's aged so well. And then they cut to Jesse Ventura. He's like, a bunch of slap jaw. And it beeps out. Well, not everything. Oh, geez. But I mean, they've tried to remake this movie several times now. It's failed every single time. Why do you think they can't seem to get it right with the Predator reboot?
I feel like maybe from like Reboit,
Okay.
a reboot standpoint, it's hard to capture lightning in a bottle multiple times.
Right.
And what they created was such a concise, so easy, and yet so interesting concept that to try to replicate it either, and we've talked about this many times on the podcast in the past, if you're doing a sequel or a follow-up, you either have to be exactly the same as the original, in which case the audience is going to say it's exactly the same, this is stupid, or you go down a new path and the audience is going to say, well, this is nothing like the original, it's stupid.
Or you just bring back everybody from the original cast and throw in a little nostalgia and hope that it pleases enough from both sides of the aisle.
Throw some Adrian Brody in there and you're good to go.
Yeah, great actor. Shocking that he couldn't, like, of all people, couldn't pull this one off. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched the last one, the most recent reboot, just because I heard from a couple friends that I trust their opinion on that it was just awful. And I was like, oh man, I can't even sit through it. And I really wanted to because it's the director of Monster Squad was the writer on it. And I was like, oh, I really want to support him. And it was bad. And I was like, oh, I can't do this. So I'll get around to it at some point, I'm sure. But I'll tell you what we will be getting around to, JD. We're going to get around to watch the trailer right now. And I have not watched this yet. So have you ever watched the trailer for Predator?
I don't know the answer. I don't think so.
Okay. Fresh look
I think this is a virgin watch for me.
Here we go. Virgin Watcher. In our archives. Right on this channel. So I'm going to hit play on this thing. We'll probably pause it about halfway through. Get a little quick take on it. Just so YouTube doesn't boot us off the air. And then we'll be back on the other side with our take of the trailer. Here we go.
We are a rescue team, not assassins. Now, what do we gotta do?
In a part of the world where there are no rules,
We pick up their trail at the chopper, run them down, grab those hostages before anybody knows we were there. What do you mean we?
deep in the jungle, where nothing that lives is safe,
You lose it here, you're in a world of hurt.
Showtime, kid. Knock, knock.
an elite rescue squad
You're bleeding, man. I ain't got time to bleed.
is being led by the ultimate warrior.
We need the best. That's why you're here.
But now,
What's got Billy so spooked?
there's something out there waiting for us. And it ain't no man. They're up against the ultimate enemy.
Holy Mother of God.
Nothing like it has ever been on Earth before.
She says the jungle just came alive and took him.
We cannot see it,
No blood, no bodies. We hit nothing.
but it sees the heat of our bodies and the heat of our fear.
Whatever it is out there, it killed Hopper. And now it wants us.
It kills for pleasure.
He was skinned alive!
It hunts for sport.
He's killing us one at a time.
We're all gonna die.
But this time, it's picked the wrong man to hunt.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Century Fox presents Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay. Well, StreamYard removed the option to hit pause, so hopefully we didn't get taken off the air. JD, start us off though, man. What did you think about the trailer here?
I don't know, man. It was kind of low energy.
I would agree with that.
But I mean, having seen the movie and knowing what is going on, it's fantastic.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree
But-
more. I thought the same thing. Low energy, but I'm still excited.
If we're trying to be putting ourselves in the seats of a couch in the 80s, there's cigarettes everywhere, Budweiser is flowing.
I like
Am I like watching this and I'm like, oh yeah? I don't know.
You got to remember, it's 87. They haven't seen as much crap as we have at that point. So some of these graphics are like, holy crap. Did you see that thing? That looked amazing.
But I don't think that the trailer tells the narrative of what the story is.
Yeah. I mean, assuming that everybody wants to figure out what the narrative is that's watching a trailer. I think some people just want to see cool shit. What's the story behind this thing? No, some people are just like, I hope Arnold blows up everybody.
But we don't see enough of that.
Yeah, that's true. There's not a lot of it. I'm going through some of the comments on here, just on the trailer, to see what some of the feedback is, and everybody in here is so positive. It's just like, one of the best movies ever made. Action-packed, good story. Movie is flawless. I have seen the movie 100 times and never gets old. One of the best movies ever made. A classic. Somebody in here has to be negative. Where is it? Got to be one asshole in the crowd, right? I don't see him. Nothing. So, majority positive comments. You don't see that a lot, especially these days. Now, let's do this. Let's talk some numbers. Let's see if people came out to watch Predator at the theater. So this movie debuted summer release. We're looking at June 12th, 1987. It was released to 1,623 theaters, distributed by 20th Century Fox with a runtime here of 1 hour and 47 minutes. It's categorized as an action, adventure, horror, sci-fi movie. First week at the box office, June 12th through the 18th. Number one at the box office that week, brought in 17.5 million. And then in week number 2, it would drop just one spot to number 2, but still brought in a solid 12 million that week, bringing their 10-day total to $29.7 million in the first 7 days. JD, that's a lot of cheddar for 1987.
Yeah, that's going to buy you one hell of a Blumpkin.
Oh, the Blumpkins are back. There we go. Now, the budget, I should have mentioned that, $15 million budget, so they've recouped it almost by double.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, not bad. Now, do you think there is some schoolyard effect here for the Predator?
I do. I do think so.
Okay. Maybe we should redefine what's a schoolyard effect, just in case we have new listeners on here that haven't heard our definition.
So you want me to define?
You don't remember. That's why you're asking that question.
Yes.
Okay. 5 weeks. So
5
if it
weeks.
lasted 5 weeks inside the top 10, we call that schoolyard effect. That means it hung around long enough. So you are saying yes.
I'm saying yes, and to double down on what Kyle just said, the idea is you would go to school on Monday, and you'd be on the schoolyard, and if you hadn't seen the cool movie of the week, you were a wuss.
Or the old water cooler. You walk up, pour your little glass. Say there, DeSandro, did you check out that new Predator movie over the weekend, pal?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be like, And I'd be like, you're not hearing any of this, are you? You're
Well, then
just
I would call
sipping water."
HR and get your ass fired.
And I'd be like, have you seen my stapler? As I've been punished to the annex. Now, this movie did not have a schoolyard effect, JD. Only 4 weeks inside the top 10. It went from 2 to 5 to 8 to 11. But the overall take at the domestic worldwide box office, pretty solid. No international numbers, but on that $15 million budget, we're looking at $59,735,548. So they're going to get a 4x return on that investment. And I would say not too bad. What say you, JD?
I mean, when you look at dollars and cents, like, hell yeah.
Yeah, not bad at all. So let's talk about the top 10. So in theory, if we had a DeLorean, which we totally do, if it could go back in time, would we want to go to June 12th, 1987? Let's see. Number one movie that weekend, obviously The Predator. Number two, The Witches of Eastwick. Number three, Beverly Hills Cop 2. Number four, The Untouchables. Number five, The Believers. Number six, Harry and the Hendersons. I don't know if that'll be a future episode or not. We'll see. Number seven, Ernest Goes to Camp. Number eight, The Secret of My Success. Number 9, $1 Million Mystery. And number 10, in week 26, Platoon. Now that's Schoolyard Effect. JD, thoughts on our top 10 list?
I'm a massive fan of Ernest.
Of course you are.
Well, how have we not done an Ernest movie?
I don't like Ernest movies. That's probably
Seriously? You don't like Ernest Scared Stupid?
I, you know what? Maybe you can flip me like you did on our Super Mario Brothers episode, but I've never been a fan of Ernest. I always thought he was too corny for me.
Oh, fuck you. Just end the episode. We're done.
All right, guys, have a good night.
Podcast canceled.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be the first time we've been canceled. No, I don't know that there's any other ones on this list, if I'm being honest with you. Platoon is a great movie. I don't know that it's going to be a super fun episode to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Beverly Hills Cop 2, yes, sure. Eventually we need to get to the sequel. We'll get George back on. We'll do part 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else, though, is really tickling my fancy here, if I'm being honest with you. Now, let's see, was there anything that came out right after this? Why did it fall out of the top 10? That's a mystery to me. 1 week later, nothing. 2 weeks later, Spaceballs debuted. That's a good one. 3 weeks out, Adventures in Babysitting, Archives for us. But still, no big releases after that. So there's nothing I can point to that would be like, why is this movie failing? I don't get it.
Maybe it was just before its time.
That could definitely be it. Who knows?
I would be very curious to see video rental numbers.
Sure. Yeah. I wish they would have kept track of stuff like that a little bit better. That'd be kind of cool to know exactly like how many tapes they sold, how many times they got rented out. I mean, wouldn't that be really nice to have all that? I'm a numbers geek, but I mean, most people might be like, who cares, man?
Well, I almost feel like as you were saying when we were talking about the trailer, if it's as flawless as people are saying, but performed not poorly, but didn't have the legs that I would have thought it would have,
right?
Does that make it a cult classic?
Potentially. I did go through there's a website called The Numbers, and a lot of times they keep some video sales in here. It looks like it got re-released in 2009, and even then it sold 227,000 units of whatever the re-release was, whether that was the DVD or the Blu-ray. But I mean, that's $3.1 million right there. And that was
no big deal.
How many years later? 22 years later. So, and there was some international box office on here too. It says 38 million internationally. So they're worldwide taking it up at 98 million then. So that's pretty solid. Now let's get to the critic and audience response. Maybe the movie got crapped all over. That could be a reason why. JD, how do you think the critics received The Predator at theaters? Hey, Fallon.
Hey, there she is.
Making her appearance.
She left the room. Audience, that was my dog, Fallon.
Well, they know. If they've been around a while, they know.
Oh, they know. 84%. No justification, no explanation. 84.
Okay. No elaboration here. 81. That's the number. Now, interesting enough, if you were to take the critic response and the audience response and average them out, 84. 81 and 87.
Look at you doing means and mediums and
How about that?
math equations.
Boy,
I didn't know you could even read, let alone do mathematics.
I didn't know he could even add. I'm like, yeah, who did? That's pretty solid. I'm a little bit shocked. And I think that's because of how much hate Arnold's gotten later in his career. I just kind of expect everybody to crap all over his movies, but you kind of forget that he was like he was like the darling of Hollywood for a while. He could do no wrong.
Well, that's so interesting that you say that because with Jason Reitman's passing, Ivan Reitman, not Jason. Jason's. Oops, sorry, Jace. I know you're listening. He came out and he released a statement thanking Ivan for essentially relaunching his career out of action and into comedy. So he's got like an arc that few can compare to.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know for him if he should just pick stuff he loves at this point and who cares what everybody else says, or maybe he needs to be more picky and just wait for the right director to come along that's going to put him in a good light again. But I've always loved Arnold. So yeah, maybe I just always rooted for the guy to do well. You're staring at me with a blank look. I can't tell if you're frozen or if you're judging me. Say something.
I'm judging you.
Okay, judging. Okay.
I'm frozen in judgment.
Yeah, you were literally like,
oh, I know. Oh, look at you pulling off a JD face.
oh, is that, you think that's the face you make? Nah, it's more like,
Oh, ready?
side note, I've never been able to move one eyeball. I don't know how you do that. I can move both of them in, but not one and the other one stays still. How?
One eye is stronger than the other.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So this is an embarrassing fact, but when I was younger, I used to have to wear an eye patch because my one eye was stronger than the other, and I had to train the one to get back to the other length.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
Embarrassing as hell.
Oh, man. Well, what can you do in pirate's life for you, huh, buddy?
Arr.
Okay. Well, let's hear from a couple of our old critic buddies here. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the movie 3 out of 4 stars and said it's a slick, high-energy action picture that takes a lot of its strength from its steamy locations in Mexico. I didn't know that. I hadn't looked into the locations. Kind of cool. What do you think about Roger Ebert's thoughts on the movie?
I love it. I mean, when he could be pragmatic and not a douchebag, it's fantastic.
Yep. I will never forgive him for Tommy Boy, though, so I still hate him. Next one, let's go with a negative one here. Derek Adams of Time Out gave the movie a negative rating and said, with its still dialogue and hammy acting, the film has the look of an expensive production, but the feel of a B movie, delivering the sort of undemanding monster mayhem Arnie's fans have come to expect. There you go. What do you think about that one?
Get out of here. So you didn't understand the movie.
Clearly he did not. No.
And that's the point. I mean, you take something and you give it simplicity and complexity at the same time. Like, that's the point.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more, man. What are you looking forward to most when we come in and do the full movie retrospective here in just a couple days?
It's some real dude sweat. it's going to be some real dude spec going on, and I like that.
Yeah, you do.
Mm.
Yeah, you do. You son of a bitch. I am looking for all the one-liners. There's so many one-liners. I think we should definitely have like a list of some of our favorites, and we'll try to do some impressions and see if we can nail them. But I mean, and also, I would say arguably the greatest handshake ever in movie cinema. Was there ever a better handshake? And how many times have you tried to recreate that thing? Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, you can tell that they got like right here and they were like, cut. Okay, now we're going to do a close-in shot. I need you guys to slap each other's hands as hard as you possibly can. And then also flex. Let's get baby oil. Bring it in. Lube them up. Okay, and we're rolling. You son of a bitch. Mm. Yeah.
The only thing I can say is possibly Over the Top has better hand-on-hand man action.
God. That was a lot to swallow.
Well,
boy.
That's what you said.
I did say that.
Because of...
better manly hand that. Oh boy. Okay. Well, with that, I think we will call an end to this episode. Thank you guys for listening. Again, looking forward to the full breakdown here in a couple of days. We'll have some clips. We'll have some fun. We'll break into everything that is Predator 1987. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Back in Time podcast. I am Kyle. He is JD. And you guys have a good rest of the evening. See ya.